Hey everybody, this is Marley K. Hope y'all are well. I hope this video comes out okay. I'm having some technical difficulties today for whatever reason. I don't know. You never know with Mr. Charlie's stuff. Anyway, um, today I want to talk about Proverbs 7 because we have a problem in our community. And I've talked about it before, but it just seems like things are getting worse. And after watching the opening ceremonies of the Olympics, like I didn't watch all of them, just the highlights. It is clear that there is a concerted effort to bring us down to this low vibrational, um, very eerie place where we dislike each other, where we are not affectionate towards one another, where we're not interested in living righteously and having mates. People are selfish, lovers of themselves, and men are, and I say men because men are the heads of our communities. So because there is a lack of um, male leadership and men willing to step up to the plate and teach other men how to live righteously, we have this issue where men are foolishly chasing after lustful things. They're exhibiting a lack of discipline and a love of just abominations, I guess is the best way to say it. And not only that, it's the women too. The women are acting like prostitutes. And we don't necessarily consider, like, the bar is so low today that the way that women act has been normalized and it's not considered the behavior of a prostitute. But when you look at these women, or you hear these women talking about, I need a man who makes six figures, you gotta have, this inch penis, be this tall, he gotta have this kind of car, he gotta have this, that, and other. The women don't have none of that, and the men are expected to work hard and provide that. And then because there's this movement where these men have to have this, and if they have these things, then they're entitled to all of the, they're not working towards providing for a family and having generational wealth to pass down for generations and generations. They are doing this so the men are doing this so they can literally just have a plethora of women at their disposal to use for their personal gratification, sexual gratification, whatever you want to call it. But all of it at the end of the day is abomination and it's unrighteousness, and we're going to be judged for that. So we need to get back to the ways of the Most High. But I was reading Proverbs 6 and 7, and there's just so much of what's going on today in scripture that we could learn from. So if you have not taken the time to go through Proverbs, Proverbs just basically tells you how to live. It's the instruction manual for life. If you have read it in the past, it's a really good time to go through it again, because our community in particular, we are experiencing this crisis in relationships. Like, people don't like each other. Men don't want to be with women. Women don't want to be with men. Men don't want to step up to the plate and do what they're supposed to do. We got women out here happily being concubines, making children all over the place, and men don't want to be with them. And it's just crazy. So anyway, let's get into it. And again, this is centered on men because men are the foundation of all societies, not just ours, but all societies. And so when they are out of order, the rest of the community is out of order. And if we women are not acting like virtuous women, Proverbs 31 women, then we have a problem too. And I think that is the problem. But this particular um, these scriptures basically touch on what's ailing both of our communities, the men and the women. So it says, my son, pay attention to my words, treasure my commands that are within you. So we're supposed to have all this stuff written on our heart, and it would cause us to move in a way or walk in a way that displays righteousness. But when you don't have it written in your heart, which is what's going on today in our community, you see we've fallen apart, and folks are just, women are acting like prostitutes, and the men are acting like gullible, ignorant men without wisdom. And even men who should know better are still walking after their own lust, being undisciplined. And it's not like, oh, I made a mistake, I'm going to get back together. It's like we out here in these streets and we're going to stay in the streets. So until we changed, our community is going to be judged. And we're going to be judged first. So it says, treasure my commands that are within you. 2, obey my commands so that you may live. Follow my teachings just as you protect the pupil of your eye. Follow my teachings. So when we get away from the Most High's teachings, we in fact are not protected. When we get away from his teachings, we are living in a way that makes us heathen. And I don't think we think of ourselves as heathen enough. We act and live like Gentiles. Like this word is not ours. And until we wake up, we're going to be judged and cursed right along with the world. So it says, tie them on your fingers, write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister. Give the name my relative to understanding. So we're supposed to get wisdom from these law, statutes, and commandments, and they teach us how to live. And if you look at how other people live, it helps you to understand, in addition to life experiences. So don't get me wrong, I mean, I have been in the world myself. So having been in the world and come out, I understand now how, the book of Proverbs protects you from so many things if you read it and adhere to it. But we keep thinking that, if I go out here and dabble a little bit, if I go out here and date and just, meet my needs and go back in, I'm okay. Well, that's not cool. We are just degrading ourselves and degrading our community to the extent that it is almost irreparable. We cannot fix it. The Most High gonna have to come through with fire and just start over, just like in the days of Noah and Lot. So it says, give the name my relative to understanding in order to guard yourself from an adulterous woman. And you can see the woman as a physical woman, or you can see the woman as, the harlot, the world, where she has all these trappings, all these ways that are counter the ways of the Most High, and they lead us down, just bad roads that sometimes you can't ever recover from. So if you stay in the ways of the Most High, or even just come back to the ways of the Most High and have a standard that doesn't allow us to get so out of control that we all looking like the worst people in the world right now. Because right now we've been used to not only mock the Most High, but degrade the entire race or nation of people, and that's a shame. So it says, give the name my relative to understanding in order to guard yourself from an adulterous woman, from a loose woman with her smooth talk. And so, the word is trying to warn men about women. And you go back to, the Garden of Eden and how it was a woman that led to Adam and Eve getting kicked out of the garden. because she was disobedient and she chose to go against the words of the Most High. And men followed, Adam followed Eve. And then it's the same thing today. The women are leading the trend of being dishonorable. And instead of the men rejecting that, they are being sucked in because they lack discipline, because they lack knowledge, because they lack wisdom, because they lack understanding, and because they are following after their own lust. And we know our hearts are filthy and dirty and just trash. And yet we still don't change. We don't try to clean it up. We just stay the way that we are. So it says, from a window in my house, I looked through my screen. I was looking at gullible people when I saw a young man without much sense among youths. And this is where I want to stop. Because this weekend, I was meeting with a friend trying to take care of some business, and another friend just showed up. But we were just kind of, observing the degradation of our people. And, our people just don't even care no more. Like, the women were so trifling, them doggone hair hats on, and them eyelashes look like caterpillars, them little cheap shine clothes, just prancing around. And half of the men wasn't even really paying them no attention, but they was just doing all types of inappropriate abominations with each other. I'll just say dancing unto themselves, same gender dancing, and not with no shame. And the men, some of them were kind of entertained, but most was like, I don't want to see this. But I want to speak to the fact that most men are not even really interested in women no more, because the majority of women that are out and about are acting and looking like prostitutes. So men are not, have gotten to the point where they're not interested in women. And even when they see a good, decent woman, they're not interested in women. It's almost like the men have become, I hate to say lovers of themselves, but they're like closeted down low brothers, because they don't want to be with women. Nobody wants to get married. I don't know nobody getting married. I ain't heard nobody say I'm engaged. Nothing. Everybody is just doing it. They having sex. They meeting each other online. They hooking up, and nobody's courting, trying to get to know each other. Wicked or not wicked, righteous or not righteous. Everybody is just like, this is a weird state to be in. And I don't really understand, like, the generation beneath me. They're not interested in getting married, and most of the men are saying the women are like prostitutes. They don't cook, they don't clean, they don't keep no kids. They got a bunch of kids by a bunch of men they ran through. Nobody want them. And not saying that makes you ran through, but they're not acting like virtuous women that you want to introduce to your family, that you want to marry and live with forever and provide for. They're just jump offs. And even older women are just as bad as the young girls. Men don't want no woman that's so out of order and godly. I don't even know what to say about it. And the fact that the women are okay with using their bodies and just for momentary satisfaction, it's scary. But the Most High calls the people of that day gullible. And it's the same way we talk about people today. People are gullible, and they don't have no sense. So it says he was crossing a street near her corner and walking toward her house in the twilight. She was for the streets. She was for the nights. In the twilight, in the evening, in the dark hours of the night. This is the origination of for the streets. Sisters was for the streets. They are for the streets still. They don't have no class. They ratchet. They dress terrible. They sound terrible. Just horrible. And men are going towards that. And as long as men accept that behavior and don't correct it, it's not enough now to just not want it and just leave it there. Men have to vocally say, we don't want that. We don't want your hair hat. We don't want your fake eyelashes. We don't want your dress, your inappropriate dress. We don't want you twerking on everybody in the streets. We don't want you twerking on no other woman. Like, it's just weird that men don't say this. And because it seems now we're at a point where if men don't reject it, which to me is order, then the women will not get the picture and change. So it says a woman with an ulterior motive meets him. She's dressed as a prostitute. Now think about how these women dress. Every time I turn around, I'm on social media, I see women trying on clothes that they got from the Amazon or wherever, and they always too little tight, showing off their BBL. They're doing their exercises in little yoga clothes, and even when they have little night stuff on, it's just always so inappropriate. And it's our people. You don't see nobody else doing that but our people flooding the internet, and it's intentional. Don't get it twisted, but it's just the point that we are so gullible and naive, we don't know the devices of the adversary yet. So it says she is loud and rebellious. Ain't our people loud and rebellious? This makes me think about Watchman Nehemiah, because we, we used to have conversations about how women always talk about what they ain't gonna do. That's his favorite thing to say. Well, look at us. Look at these women. I'm looking at a woman in the drive-through telling her supervisor what she ain't gonna do. And that's what we do. We are loud and rebellious. And I'm saying we as in like the culture, but I'm not like that. But I know women who are like that, and I'm just like, what's wrong with them? Even when you go out and you try to patronize black businesses, black women are in positions where they have to work with people, and they just loud and rebellious and disrespectful. So it's a part of the culture. This is about us, our people, and nothing has really changed, which is why we are here in this captivity, and this is why we're going to be judged first. So it's very important that we change our ways, throw away these abominations, and repent. So it says, she is loud and rebellious. Her feet will not stay at home. She for the streets. Okay? She is for the streets. This is the origination of for the streets. One moment she is out on the street. The next she is at the curb, on the prowl at every corner. So when you see these women, I don't care if it's Cardi B, Meg the Stallion, whoever, like they're teaching these women to be for the streets. Now, they're getting paid well to do this, but they ain't for the streets. Meg the Stallion, she went to school, got her degree, and she could not rap no more, but she has a career. She could go and practice. I can't say the same for Cardi B, but they have wealth from basically teaching women how to be prostitutes. You look at today's music, the way that these women dress, um, they teach women to prostitute even in the church. The churches, you see how some of the first ladies and how these female preachers, which I ain't gonna even get into that, but they dress inappropriate. So the culture of prostitution has permeated the church, which is why everything gonna be destroyed. Prostitution is everywhere. Women are everywhere, acting like the streets. So it says she grabs him and kisses him and brazenly says to him, and this part reminds me of how the women would just turn around and start twerking on the man. The man just, she looking inappropriate, so he gazing at her and looking at her, and then she just turn around and start tooting her butt up and twerking on the men, and then the men just gather around, and then other women start doing it. It's like a virus. The whole virus is out here on our people bad. So she says, I have some sacrificial meat. Today I kept my vows. That's why I came to meet you. Eagerly I looked for you and I found you. I've made my bed with colored sheets of Egyptian linen. I've sprinkled my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let's drink our fill of love until morning. Let's enjoy making love because my husband's not home. He has gone on a long trip. He took lots of money with him. He won't be home for a couple of weeks. So a lot of these women who out here acting foul, they don't even have no husband. And nobody wants them. They ain't gonna never be nobody's husband. They got a bunch of children. They just concubines. And some of the women don't have no children, but they just concubines. They willing to prostitute themselves and act in this manner and not demand no husband. They don't have any standards, and the men don't look for any standards. And it just seems like we just have a broken community that's irreparable, only to be repaired by fire in the judgment. So it says, with all her seductive charms, her hair had them lace front wigs, them eyelashes and tattoos and all the lip gloss and lip plump and shininess and makeup. She persuades him. Men, y'all so weak. This is where undisciplined comes from my vocabulary, because those are superficial things. Like when I see a man out who is tempted and lured by those types of things, even if they're supposed to be decent men and they're looking at those women like in a lusting way, like just because she walks by, she puts those things on because she wants somebody to look at her. But even when decent men look at her, it's just a sign of his heart. Like if he's not looking at her with disdain or looking at her like she needs to be corrected or correct her. Like I just be like, what's wrong with y'all brothers? And I feel like even though we women should correct these sisters, these women wouldn't dress like prostitutes and act like prostitutes if men would be like, I don't want that. I reject that. I rebuke that spirit. But everybody is so undisciplined and so into their lust and so selfish. They're not, men are not really interested in correction. Men are interested in self-gratification. And unfortunately, it's going to cost a lot of people their lives, eternal lives. So it says he immediately follows her. Oh, God. Her like a steer on its way to be slaughtered. And so, you look at these men who lay up with these women, these weak women, and I hate to call them cash app hoes. That's what my son calls them. These cash app hoes. You give them $35, $40 and they'll do anything. Or, the women who so desperate for a man, they'll buy them anything, do anything. They open the doors and let the men come to the house and do Netflix and chill, and the men just go up in there and not really realizing that every time you do this, you slaughtering yourself. You like setting yourself up for failure. It's like a ram hobbling into captivity until an arrow pierces his heart, like a bird darting into a trap. He does not realize that it will cost him his life. So not only your eternal life, but just think about all the men who got all these baby mamas and all these women who have all these baby daddies. They don't realize that the lust and the lack of discipline is costing them their lives. It's just insane that like this stuff is so old and yet we have not learned these lessons, and we are getting worse. So it says, now sons, talking to the brothers, listen to me. Pay attention to the words from my mouth. Do not let your heart be turned to her ways. This is why I say men have a responsibility to shut this down. If men are not going to speak up and get these sisters in check, nothing is ever going to change. So when it says, do not let your heart be turned to her ways, do not wander onto her paths, because she has brought down many victims and she has killed all too many. Her home is the way to hell and leads to the darkest vaults of death. You even think about, there's a woman riding on the beast. Um, Everything that's happening today, is tied to sin. And we are like living in this era where our people just don't get it that we can't live any kind of way. We're supposed to be set apart. We're supposed to be on the narrow path. And I don't see that. Like, you know, the guy that I was with, one of the guys is married, and the other one is not. He's never been married. But, he's up in age and he's not really interested in getting married. He likes hanging with the bros. Um, and it's scary. I'm just looking around like these dudes don't want to get married. They're not interested in, like, they have no enthusiasm whatsoever about trying to live righteously and holy and find a wife and come out of the streets. Everybody is for the streets. The men for the streets, the women for the streets, raising children who gonna be for the streets. And we're all poorer for it because these men spend so much time hanging out and doing unproductive things. Even if they're building wealth, they're spending it on worldly pleasures instead of investing it in home, going home, doing things to get home situated, and pouring into their children and their families, doing stuff for the community, building things, because that's what men are supposed to do. Men ain't building nothing. They're helping to tear the whole community down because they're not in order. So anyway, I just want to speak to the fact that brothers have an obligation to get right. Listen to the Most High and his wisdom. Read Proverbs, because I tell you, it's so much stuff in there, especially these women with these eyelashes and makeup and hair hats and cheap shine clothes, or Sheen, Shine, whatever the name of it is, Temu, whatever. The adversary is setting us up for failure. He is setting us up to mock the Most High, setting us up to remain in captivity, setting us up for judgment. And brothers have an obligation to reject. Notice the onus is on the brothers to reject the prostitutes. Do not follow her. That's what it said. Don't follow her. But y'all follow her anyway. Because you're not disciplined, because you don't have wisdom, because you don't have understanding, because you have lust in your heart. So it's very important that men teach these young men about how they should truly live, and it's up to us women to model virtuous women so that we can try to get our communities back. But if men do not model wanting virtuous women, then the thoughts and tots and hots and pots gonna just keep on ruling the community. And that's kind of what has happened. We have a community where prostitutes rule. Women who look like prostitutes and act like prostitutes rule the day, and good virtuous women are called, you know, weird cat ladies, just whatever. But you can't, being a good decent woman, nobody wants that no more. They say they want it, but they will wife the shine lady, the sheen sister with the lace front wigs and the eyelashes and the loud and the rebellious spirit, who acts like a prostitute, and decline the basic woman who is, even if she's not basic, she can be extraordinary, but she's modest and humble and kind and um, has integrity and knows how to turn whatever somebody gives her into more and blesses her family and doesn't bring shame. They don't want those kind of women today. They want the doggone lady for the streets. So, brothers, y'all better be trying to figure out how to change yourselves and pick women who are trying to be virtuous women, because the other thing is only going to cost you your life. And even if it doesn't cost you your life physically, it will cost you your life financially, emotionally. Just think about the men who got babies by a jump off. I mean, I could just think about my son. He got three babies, three children by three different women. And when I tell you all of them are no count and completely the opposite of me, they don't cook, they don't clean. Uh, all of them got multiple babies by multiple baby daddies. Not one got the same baby daddy. I mean, no two has the same baby daddy. I'm sorry. Um, it was never good women. And so make good choices, fellas. Um, contain yourselves. Stop lusting after these prostitutes. Stop lusting after looks. Um, a good woman is more than her looks. Looks are nice, because I know nobody want to walk around with a guinea pig monkey. But you need to pick better, because y'all have created a standard where basically prostitution is okay for the representation of the community, and it's real ugly out here. All right, y'all, this is Marley K. Love y'all, and I'm out.